If you've got between £2,000 and £6,000 to spend on a bottle of whiskey, you're very fortunate. But with so many options available, which ones do you pick? In this video, I'm going to take a look at 3 awesome bottles. So welcome back to the channel, everyone, and in this video we're going to do a bit of a dream dive into 3 amazing bottles of whiskey, and let's play a bit of a game. Let's see, get in the comments below and tell me which one you would keep as an investment. Which one do you think has got the most potential for investment in the future? Which one would you like to drink the most? And then which one would you give to your friend? And I'll put my comments right at the end as well. Now, the first bottle that we're going to take a look at, now we've got our new top-down setup, remember? So the first bottle that we're going to take a look at is this fantastic whiskey here. Now, it's a Yamazaki Sherry Cask from 2016. Now, the Yamazaki distillery was founded in 1923 by Shinjiro Tori. And if you want to learn about the history of the Yamazaki distillery, we've got another video about that. So I'll put that on the screen now, and I'll also put a link in the description and comments below. Now, this bottle is part of a range that Suntory did that was started in 2009 and went all the way up to 2016. And they explored different types of casks. So there was sherry, bourbon, puncheons, peated distillate, Spanish oak and Mizunara oak, and this is specifically the Sherry Cask edition from 2016. So let's take a look at the box. First of all, the box is a relatively plain and simple cardboard affair, but the bottle inside is absolutely beautiful. So let's get the bottle out, put that box aside nice and safe, and there we have it. The first thing that you notice on this bottle is the label, and that is a really beautiful handmade paper label. It's from the, I'm going to destroy the pronunciation of this, the Achaizen washi paper. So the Achaizen is I'm going a bit German there. It's a region in Japan that's famed for its specialist handmade papers, and this label here, you can see it's almost sort of like tea coloured. If you were making maps at school when you were younger, you get a tea bag and age it up. It's got that sort of cream effect to it, but it really is beautiful handmade paper, and it's also quite understated as well. 2016 edition on the front, and then on the back you've got more of the bottle detail. So 48% ABV, 700ml, and just look at that colour. I'm hoping you can see that colour coming through on the screen, but it really is an incredibly dark colour. Now, this whiskey in here is actually the same whiskey, or the foundations that were used from the 2013 edition. Now, there wasn't an edition in 2014 and 2015, so they skipped a couple of years and then came out with this 2016 edition. And it's the same whiskey in the same cask, but matured for a couple of years longer. Now, it's also like a blending or a vatting of single malts from the Yamazaki distillery. Some of them are up to 25 years old, and all of that is carefully explained inside this little presentation card that comes with it. Now, what's interesting about this is that there were 5,000 bottles from the 2016 edition released. They were £250 at RRP, and most recently one sold in May for £5,050. Now, we've got this up for £5,677, available now, worldwide shipping, whatever. And actually, by the time you do the maths and look at the commission and the shipping on top of what the one at £5,050 would have sold for, this bottle's actually cheaper. So it's a really, really beautiful bottle, quite limited in supply. Like I say, less than 350 sales of it since it's been released. And the beauty of this is that you can build up the series. So you can build up the series from 2009, and you can do that just with the sherry casks, or you could do it with the Mizunara oaks or any of the other ranges as well. So there's the first bottle, the Yamazaki Sherry Cask, the 2016 edition. Now let me just put this away nice and safe, and let's get on to bottle number 2. So bottle number 2, it's coming back to safer territory in terms of this channel. It's Macallan, and here it is. It's the Macallan Exceptional Cask 2017 ESB-9100/13. So what's that? What the heck is the Exceptional Cask series? Well, the Exceptional Cask series is a range of 31 bottles that were released by Macallan, and they're all single cask strength expressions. It was a range started in 2017, I believe, and it only ran for 3 years. So in 2017 there were 14 bottles, in 2018 there were 11 bottles, in 2019 there were 4 bottles. Now, what a lot of people don't know about the Exceptional Cask series is that there was a precursor to this series released by Macallan, Official Bottlings, also called the Exceptional Cask series, that started in around 1999 and ran until around 2004. We've got one of those bottles available. I'll stick it up on screen now, and that's another talking point. So let's stay on this one. So let's take a look at this Exceptional Cask bottling then. Now, the obvious thing with these boxes is that they're all relatively austere and relatively plain, similar to the Yamazaki in presentation in terms of they have got sort of like a matte finish to them in terms of those labels. And then inside you get the bottle itself. Now, it's interesting to note that all of the presentation for these bottles is exactly the same. The only thing that changes are minor details on the labels and minor details on the box. So essentially, let's take a look at the label. You can see here, simple, beautiful presentation from Macallan. This is before we get that big stepped glass base on the bottom of it as well here. And you can kind of see here, European oak sherry butt cask, distilled and filled on the 11th of August 2003, bottled on the 20th of December 2017, and one of only 643 bottles. Now, it's 60% ABV, single cask, cask strength Macallan, which is incredibly rare. Try and name any other single cask strength editions of Macallan that there have been. You could probably count them on one hand. So this really is incredible whiskey. Very austere in terms of its presentation. You know, the world record price for the Exceptional Cask series comes from a 67-year-old that was from the 1950 vintage, and that's the world record price for that is £76,000. And broadly speaking, it looks exactly the same as this bottle does when you see them in the flesh. Now, that £76,000 bottle is a bit of an exception to the rule. The next highest price is only £10,000, and recently this bottle sold for £2,700 at auction, and we've got this one available now, worldwide shipping obviously, for £2,827. So of course, by the time you do your shipping, by the time you do your commission, by the time you do your insurance and bits on top at auction, this bottle comes out cheaper. So now we come on to the final bottling, and it's a bit of an oddball. It's from the Laphroaig distillery, and here it is. It is the 1981 27-year-old special selection. Now, this is quite an important bottling, but before we look at the bottle, Laphroaig obviously really doesn't need any introduction. It was set up in 1815, and you know, one of the most fascinating parts of it is its history was from the 1950s to the 1970s, when it was run by Bessie Williamson, a woman in the industry. She was the first distillery manager a female distillery manager in Scotland, I believe. She arrived in 1934 to start an admin role, and she lasted nearly 40 years there, and ended, I think she retired in 1972. So it's got a really fascinating history, and there's sort of like so many myths or sort of like stories around the Laphroaig distillery. The most obvious one being about prohibition, because the whiskey being so foul tasting that no one could ever consume it and get drunk on it. And again, this is, you know, no one really knows the references to these or the sources of these, but it's in a Ralphie video that we'll stick on screen now and stick in the links below. And if Ralphie says it, well, it's got to be true. Anyway, let's get back to this bottle. So let's take a look at it. So this is the only one that we've got today in a tube. Let's take a look inside. So inside here, first of all, you've got your little own your square foot of Islay. Now, goodness knows how many times this piece of land has been sowed, but you've got your nice little presentation booklet here, tasting notes of the core range, and basically set up as a Friends of Laphroaig. Now let's get to the exciting part and look at the colour of this whiskey. My, isn't that just absolutely incredible? That's almost Black Bowmore colour. That really is phenomenal. And it takes this colour because it's been bottled again on this label here, selected from only 5 of the finest Oloroso sherry casks by Robert Hicks and distillery manager John Campbell, and bottled in 2008. So this is a 1981-year-old vintage, 27-year-old whiskey. Now, unusually, these details on the label are all hand signed. The bottle number, 370 of 736, is hand signed and hand numbered, and so are the signatures. So this really is a beautiful bottle of whiskey. Now, it's not cheap. You know, one sold recently at auction for £5,100. We've got this one on, again, immediate shipping, £5,641. But goodness me, doesn't it absolutely scream class? There's not many people that have this bottle in their collection. There's been very few sales of it, and it's you know, I can't find any official tasting notes anywhere for it. You can find anecdotally on the likes of Whiskey Base, where people pretend that they've tried fantastic whiskies and have got the most adept palate on the planet, but I always take those with a pinch of salt. So there we have it. We've got the Yamazaki 2016 Sherry Oak release, we've got the Macallan Exceptional Cask, and we've got the Laphroaig 27-year-old. Now, which ones would you buy to invest in, one to drink and one to give to your friend? And that's a tricky one for me, because personally I think the investment potential comes mostly from the Yamazaki, but that's also the one that I'd like to drink the most. So I'm going to say invest in the Yamazaki. I'm going to say drink the Laphroaig. That looks sensational, doesn't it? I was torn then between the cask strength Macallan, because I've not tried any cask strength single cask Macallan from an official release. Tried it from single cask that we've sold, but not from a bottled release. So yeah, we're going to go invest in the Yamazaki, we're going to go drink the Laphroaig, and we're going to say gift the Macallan. Now, what do you think? Get in the comments below and let me know your thoughts.